On today's episode of Kendall on Air, we're diving into a cleantech special featuring founders from two MIT-affiliated startups tackling urgent global challenges. Nona is reimagining how we drink seawater, making it accessible, reliable, and even enjoyable through its proprietary desalination technology. Meanwhile, Macrocycle is redefining the life cycle of plastics with a circular, zero-carbon upcycling process that keeps waste out of the environment for good. We sit down with the founders to hear where they are in their journeys, what keeps them up at night, and how they're building mission-driven businesses that are resilient, innovative, and commercially viable, even in uncertain times. Stay tuned. Well, it's so good to be here with you guys today. So, Jongyo, tell me a little bit about Nona and how it all began.
Okay. So actually, my background is the biomedical engineering. So at a time for my PhD, I concentrate the virus from the human biosample. So when I concentrate the virus here, I realized that I can make the clean water at this part. So why don't I try this idea for the water treatment, to make the clean water. So that is my first start about this technology. And then fortunately, I can make the really reliable, I can invent very reliable technology. So after that, okay, I don't want to be in academia anymore. I want to bring this invention to the practical area. So that is my very first step of the Nona.
So you wanted to bring an academic invention to real life and have it, give true impact to the world.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, I know that a little bit of your love story per se, and that you guys are a little bit of a match made in heaven, perhaps, right? It's really not easy to find a co-founder with a good fit. So tell us a little bit about that story, because I know that actually happened very serendipitously, and how you actually made the conscious decision to have a working relationship.
After made my decision to make this invention to the commercial field, so I did myself for a year, and then after that, I evaluated myself, what happened for the first year. So technology was good because I was the inventor of that. But the B side, wow, I don't want to say it was the bad, but actually it was bad. I couldn't make the really good business model. So I asked myself again, what do I want to do? Let's do the thing, what I can do best, and then find another person, so business development. So I interviewed several person. So everybody was so good, but it is really hard to find who would be the right person. So, okay, I asked again, who would be the right person to work with me? So my answer is the person who I could trust. But fortunately, I can share my life with Bruce Crawford because we live in the same apartment. So I just watch his daily life. So so for 6 months, so his life tell me he's the person who I could trust. Yeah. So I decide, okay, let's work with Bruce Crawford. Yeah, that is my story.
I'm just curious, what was it about Bruce's daily life? Like, was he an early riser,
Yeah, first of all, he was really diligent person. Yeah, I woke up in the morning really early because I'm such a person as well. Yeah, I woke up like 5 a.m. and then start my life that he was such a person, and he was so kind for his family, of course, but so kind for everybody. But when he have some competition, like a sports game, wow, he become totally different person.
Oh, in competition?
Yeah, in the competition. So, okay, that is the personality I want.
Oh, okay, right.
It's a really funny story, John. The first person I met in Massachusetts, coming here for school at Sloan, was Jung Hyo's wife. And she was lovely. She's very nice. And we lived right across the hall from each other. And so I kind of got to know their family, our daughters are about the same age. So we'd be at the communal playground kind of outside. I kind of made it my thing, my hobby around Westgate, which is the on-campus housing, to kind of talk to all the postdocs and PhDs and say, what are you working on? Because it was always so interesting. And Jung Hyo, just like many others, came off as like really, really smart. And the unique thing was really driven to like form a business, not just keep it in academia. He wanted to really translate something, as he was saying, to the real world. So the way it actually happened was I was sitting, I didn't know what Jung Hyo was working on in particular, but I was cooking teriyaki chicken at the communal grill at Westgate in December. It was really cold, maybe November. And Jung Hyo put on his coat and came out and said, hey, I invented this new way to separate water from impurities. Can you help me find a business school student to work on it? And I was like, yeah, that's really interesting. And so I knew immediately, like, there's some potential for impact here, treating water. I'd lived in drought-stricken Southern California. I'd lived in Florida through hurricanes. I'd kind of like had some peripheral awareness of water shortage issues. So it struck me as interesting, and we kind of worked on it together for a few months as just a project. We didn't commit and say, we're going to start a business. We just sort of worked on a business plan for this competition at MIT. And I've learned in that time, like, this is really different. We're not quite sure where the value is, but this is super differentiated from anything else that's out there in terms of how the separation happens. So yeah, that's how it all came together.
Interesting. Can you speak a bit more about the separation or the unique value proposition here?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, there's a few traditional ways to like separate salt from water. And when I say salt, it could also be any other minerals or impurities, but salt's the tough one and the most prevalent. So the old school way is to do distillation. So there are Egyptian hieroglyphs of this happening: boil water, catch the steam, condense it. The modern way, invented in the 1960s, is reverse osmosis. So that's water through a membrane. It's basically a type of filtration. There's electro-membrane separations, which also came around the same time as reverse osmosis, which is using an electrical field to kind of move salt and bacteria out. But in all the methods that existed had one of two things going on. Either had heat, in the case of distillation, or you had water going through a membrane. And that's true of electrodialysis, electromembrane technologies out there, and reverse osmosis. And what Jung Hyo's got is a system that's using an electric field, but water's not going through a membrane. So you can just eliminate a lot of maintenance headaches, membrane fouling, membrane clogging. You could take out some pretreatment requirements and gain efficiency. So all this combines to an economic benefit. So I just was like, this is so different. There's so many needs for water treatment. It's going to take a lot of tools to solve our freshwater crisis. So this has got to be one of them.
Excellent. And just going back to the co-founder dynamic, I suppose, right? So you are a business school student, or you were, and then, you're an engineer, research scientist. So obviously, very complementary skill sets. But to all the kind of fledgling, aspiring entrepreneurs out there that are looking for the perfect co-founder, what kind of advice or suggestions do you think as they are in that quest and search?
I would say a couple things. You picked out the first one. I think the diversity of background, of skill set is really important. Just because in a startup, you want to be as lean as possible. And so the more skill sets you can pack into the fewest number of people, that's an asset at first. And so, Jung Hyo's background in mechanical engineering, with the unique mix of things you got in Jay's lab, combined with my background in finance and working at Rivian and in the steel industry, it was like very, very diverse. And that was really helpful for us to do a lot of things early on. The other thing that I would say is look for somebody who's kind of, their life goals seem to be aligned with yours. And we would talk a lot about this early on, like, what do you really want, like, out of this? How far do you want to take it? Are you okay having this type of customer, or would that like be a problem for you? And you got to have, do this kind of, make this kind of impact in the world. And we both seem kind of aligned in terms of time frame. Neither one of us was looking for a quick buck and to get super rich or super famous quickly. We both care about the impact, and financial incentive is a nice benefit. But we just enjoy working on a problem like this. So try and screen for that. Find someone like you with aligned goals.
We did a small project together. Yeah, so like a water innovation prize, we are rejected. And then first Delta V application also rejected. Yeah. Yeah. So with that journey, I learned his skill set, but as well as his personality. Of course, the first day of the rejection, we were all frustrated, but just that day. After that, we just do it again. So I think I suggest that please do the small project together. Yeah. And then after that will teach you what kind of person you are and your co-founder, and then make a decision after finishing the server competition project. And then you guys don't need to succeed that competition, but after that process, you will learn about each other.
It seems like Bruce had an anti-fragile, as Bill would like to say, a personality bouncing back right after small failures or sometimes bigger failures. But that's great to know. And you've mentioned Delta V and MIT 100K. And at first you may have failed, but eventually you won those competitions, right? And you've had a few non-dilutive funding as well, grants. So tell me a little bit about how that actually helped your business, or how it helped you get off the ground.
Yeah, we've received a ton of help. That's been, I don't know if any startup really goes without kind of a village, and the non-dilutive funding has been part of that. Most of which came from the MIT ecosystem. So yeah, like Jung-Hyo said, we failed at the Water Innovation Prize, which is our first thing. That one hurt. We failed to get into Delta V the first time around. Y Combinator, we had all this string of failures. And then the MIT 100K was at the end of that same year. And we ended up winning first place. So it did a couple things for us. I'll list them all first, and then I'll tell you what they did for us. We, after that, won the bronze prize in the LG Award. They want to make it like the Nobel Prize for cleantech and impact tech. We won some money from the ASU Innovation Open from Source Global, their sponsor, and they've been good friends to us. We won some money from the International Desalination Association and from Mass Ventures, a little grant. Those grants I'd call like competitions, not all strictly competitions, but they did a couple things. First of all, the money helped us kind of get by and operate outside of, waiting for the SBIR grant timeline, waiting for an equity round timeline. We could kind of start moving and start validating our prototype right away. And then the other part of it was kind of like the feel-good emotional validation.
That's important.
It's important. It has an effect when you start putting your best out there and get rejected time after time after time. An entrepreneur has to be able to take that a lot of times, but no one can take it forever. So it's been really nice to every once in a while win something. And it's just a reminder, okay, like we're early on, we don't have it together yet, but there's something about our message that's resonating.
There's something here.
There's something here, and other people see it too. It's not just us. We're not just crazy. So yeah, those have been really helpful. And they kind of, like I said, kept us alive until we could get the funding round put together, the equity round, and get 2 SBIR phase 1 grants to come in. So now that we're kind of rolling, everything's just fuel on the fire.
Right. So what's been happening ever since Delta V, and what are some of the accomplishments that you are proud of?
Yeah, first thing, we licensed our patent. Even if I was the inventor of this technology, we need to license our technology from MIT. And then, we raised the seed round. and move into the green town. And right now we have the five team, and we improve our technology TLL 7 level, and also we sell about 7 product to the U.S. Army, and it was our module was the benchtop scale, but we scale up meter scale water treatment product to address the industry wastewater, and then we have the wait list over 1,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The wait list is mostly for a compact unit, such that we've been delivering to the Army. It's mostly boat owners.
Oh, wow.
Like recreational sailors. And then and that's probably 3/4 of the list. And then after that, I'd say people who own coastal homes or areas with salty groundwater who just want to be prepared.
So I'm curious, how did they find out about your business?
Many ways. Probably the most successful way has been like the free press from the competitions I mentioned. Like MIT is great at building hype around startups. You do well in a competition. The MIT News, will write a nice feature and it'll get picked up. So, and then we've been featured by some great YouTube channels and podcasts like this one. Hopefully does the same thing. Just get some eyeballs on what we're doing, and people join the waitlist.
Okay. I'm just going to throw in a question here, inspired by Bill Alette. We talk about beachhead market a lot. So how did you identify your first beachhead market?
I think we tried a lot of different things. It starts with customer discovery. Like we learned directly from Bill and Paul in their classes from the Trust Center. So we just talked to people, and we really, technically, we felt like this is a great product for fishermen and a great product for nonprofits, disaster relief. We still think it is the compact unit, but we just felt a huge pull from the recreational boating segment. And so eventually we stopped ignoring that and said, okay, there's clearly a lot of interest. Maybe it's not the one on paper that we think is the most ideal, but a lot of people want this thing. So that was how we selected the beachhead for the compact unit. As we scale up, we're still answering that question. It's going to be different when we finish our industrial scale, industrial water treatment unit. So we have a handful of ideas where we think there's a good technical fit, a good need, but we're talking to people, and we're beginning to collect data from some of their feed water sources, and we'll be making that selection soon. We're kind of still in the process.
Now that you mentioned investors, I think generally speaking, and there are certainly companies that have kind of broken this perception, but there is a lot of preconceived belief or notion that clean tech companies are generally really ambitious and really meaning to do well or good for the world, for next generation, so on and so forth. But it may not be so lucrative or financially rewarding, especially in the near term, right? So what does Nona want to do about that?
It's a good question. I think that is the perception. I think there's two. I'll speak to what I think creates that impression, and then I'll mention kind of how I think we're going around it. So clean tech, like the things that are really going to make an impact on our global emissions or energy usage, anything you'd put in the clean tech bucket, it tends to have to be an industry that is kind of old school and and probably has slim margins. A lot of break-even industrial businesses in America, which are great, but they don't exactly scream profit to investors, for example. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is, there's often long lead times for these solutions that are really impactful and really going to make a difference. You could look at a 5, 10, 20-year lead time till you're getting your first product out there. So that's a conundrum for an investor, right? It's like, okay, we're going to dump a lot of money into this long development timeline. It's high risk. And then at the end of the day, we're disrupting an industry which doesn't have great margins. So the ways that we're trying to reframe that, number one, we're trying to get to market really fast. Our path to market from raising money to selling a product. We're about to launch this first product. We've already had revenue, but it's going to be more like 1 year rather than 5, 10, 15. And that's because we're pursuing, sort of this compact product line that was already largely developed by Jung Hyo at MIT. And that will get the technology in the market, proving its value quickly and bringing in revenue quickly, and kind of help sustain us while we develop, these larger things that are the longer timeline to build. The other, the way we deal with the economic benefit, the economic issue I mentioned is, for one, we're not attacking a problem that is like yet to materialize in the future. Like, trust us, if we have these kind of emissions, it's going to create these issues. It's like real water constraints are really a problem now, in America and in lots of places. Our reservoirs are low. People are being restricted from using water to water their grass in some parts of the world. It's like, it's a clear present problem. So that helps us and it drives the value up. And also we're able to demonstrate a clear economic value to customers. Like, if we can save you the money on this replacement water, we'll save you the money on the chemical treatments you're using, we'll save you money on these consumables. It's like a pretty clear economic incentive for customers to recycle their water with our systems, when I'm talking about the large scale now. So that's like not really dependent on, a company having a sustainability push. And it's just a clear value that can be recognized pretty quickly.
Obviously, doing a startup is not easy, right? It's no joke, to be honest. But what keeps you up at night, and what are some of your kind of challenges as you look ahead?
I think I'll go first, then you can go. What keeps me up at night most is just the idea of focus. Focus with it in our industry, I think it's particularly difficult because there's so much need for water in every part of the world. There's so many applications for water treatment, types of feed waters, types of needed product waters. Like, there's endless things we could do with the technology, and it may seem like a great problem to have, but it's still a problem. And so what keeps me up at night is getting to that point where we have focus on where we take the company.
Water industry is very conservative area. So whenever we have the talk, they don't have any idea about our technology. So they couldn't understand our technology. So always I think of how can I effectively and more easily deliver our technology to the customer. Yeah. So that cannot make me go to bed.
My last question is, ultimately, where do you see yourself in 10 years, 20 years?
Yeah, like after 10 or 20 years, I believe there will be another startup to address the water problem. And then they will do customer discovery themselves, and they will ask to the customer, what is your current solution to address your water problem? And I want to customer answer that question. We do Nona. And we have no problem. That is the
it's such
future.
a standardized process and product.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
I agree with that answer. First of all, I think if it will be a big show of success if we could become kind of ubiquitous as a tool to treat water like reverse osmosis is today. My vision for 10, 20 years from now is to have made a dent in the water shortage, issue. It's probably too big a goal to say 10 or 20 years from now we'll have squashed water shortage and no one will worry about it. But I'd like to see us kind of moving in that direction. And when people get worried about the aquifers, being low, and reservoirs like Lake Tahoe being at record low levels, hopefully we've helped that. But if we haven't, I want there to just be like, a perception of a lever that we have to pull, a tool that can help. Okay, we're having this water shortage, but we have this ICP system that is helping us reuse more of our water. And so we can, there's some hope because we have a good tool now. That's what I would like to be the case in 10 years.
Right. I think back when I was growing up, the saying was that, hey, World War III is going to be around water shortage, right? So, yeah.
We hear that. Yeah. I think having World War III around water shortage would be a negative indicator for us. Hopefully we can avoid that water world scenario.
Yes. Thank you so much for this wonderful interview.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the thoughtful questions, and it's clear you have experience doing this startup thing. So thank you for the time.
Meanwhile, Macrocycle is redefining the life cycle of plastics with a circular, zero-carbon upcycling process that keeps waste out of the environment for good. All right, well, Stwart, it's such a pleasure to have an MIT Sloaney actually here, and I am just in awe that you took on this challenge to tackle. What propelled you to choose this path?
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I had a lot of experiences growing up that pushed me towards the way of entrepreneurship. I always wanted to solve problems, and I like solving problems focused on the climate when it came to energy. And eventually, through multiple steps of my career, I realized that I wanted to create an organization where I could have a positive impact on the world and on the people that work on that mission. And that led me to entrepreneurship, where I wanted to start my own company in the climate tech space so I can create a positive impact at a global scale with my own hands while developing and creating my own team full of inclusive personalities, backgrounds, and perspectives to be able to resolve the crisis that we're facing on today.
So why climate tech?
So when I was young, there's a memory where I woke up in my parents' arm. And we were outside, and when I woke up, it was completely dark except for the night of the moon of the night shining on our faces. And I realized that our power had gone out. And for some reason, at that moment in time, I promised to my parents that I will one day solve our power issues. I was 5 years old, so I didn't really know what I was doing, but that sent me on a journey towards solving the energy infrastructure crisis that the Dominican Republic had. When I moved to the US, I was still passionate about energy. I became a chemical engineer, and my first job out of college was in the oil and gas industry for me to learn how energy worked at a global scale. There, I saw how closely interconnected energy and climate were, and I was able to see a lot of things that were being done that were not extremely beneficial to the environment. And with that, I started becoming more and more passionate about the environment itself beyond just energy. And when I came to MIT, I had the pleasure and honor of meeting my co-founder and seeing an amazing technology that had the potential to disrupt the industry at a global scale, specifically in plastics.
So this is how Macrocycle came to be. And you are really tackling this issue by upcycling plastic and polyester waste. I actually had to look up what upcycling means. Educate us, enlighten us here.
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. So to provide a little bit more context before I get into upcycling, recycling is a term that is utilized when you put the plastic bottles in a collection bins, but people don't often know what happens to the plastic bottles after that. The reality is that they go through a process that often downcycle the quality of the material. What that means is that you cannot use the plastic bottle you collected to remake another plastic bottle. Oftentimes, it gets downgraded into textiles and clothes. But then guess what? You cannot take those clothes back into bottles, and it's hard to take them back into another cloth. So they get downcycled and eventually ends up in landfill. So what we think of recycling as today is closer to being downcycling. As a result, we're trying to change the narrative where Macrocycle is trying to take the end-of-life material, the material that cannot be utilized for any other application, and we upcycle it into a high-quality plastic that can serve as a drop-in solution for the most needy and difficult applications. In this case, we can take, for example, the bottles and upcycle them again back into bottles, or even more impressive, we can take the textiles and upcycle that back into bottles. And with that, we want to create a fully circular economy we're upcycling to make up for the other half that doesn't exist right now, which is the end-of-life materials into high-quality applications.
So there is a proprietary process here, right?
Yes, that is our solvogenesis platform, which is our proprietary process that allows us to use chemicals for us to be able to remove the impurities and contaminants from the plastics while upcycling the plastic on a chemical and molecular level to be able to reach those high quality applications.
And I think I've been told that this is also a zero carbon emission while reducing energy by 80%.
That is correct. So our process compared to standard manufacturing of PET plastics requires 80% less energy, and the remaining 20% is fully electrifiable with renewable energy, something that other processes cannot claim, allowing us to be, from a scope 1 perspective, a zero carbon emitting as a recycling technology. And as with that, we're hoping to not only divert PET plastics from landfills and our oceans, but also to fully decarbonize the industry from what the petrochemical industry does today.
So, I mean, this sounds too good to be true in some ways. So, why isn't the world adopting this just yet, or are we on the path to it?
We're on the path to it. So we, to our knowledge, are the first chemical recycling company that is able to upcycle the polymer without breaking it down. As a result, it is a novel technology that not many other people are even aware of as we're coming to the market. So we do very much foresee other companies trying to innovate very similar to us, but until then, we are the first company that are trying to scale up this technology to the market to be able to claim all the benefits of recycling and to create value out of the plastic waste that we have right now polluting our environment.
So I know that you raised about $6.5 million quite recently, but how are you deploying that money to make this dream into a realization? And what are the kind of the milestones?
Indeed. So we're utilizing these funds to scale up our operations by 50% in the terms of the personnel that we have in the team and the operations that we're operating here out of the engine ecosystem. We want to now validate our technology with greater number of brands and customers to be able to demonstrate that our technology truly produces a product that serves as a drop-in solution, with a milestone of essentially making that Macrocycle bottle and Macrocycle t-shirt to start showing the world, like, look, this material was made from 100% recycle waste. With that, that will give us the ability then to go out back to the market to raise additional funds to then scale up this to the tons quantity, so we can actually start creating a noticeable impact with the landfill and the waste that's created today.
And what are kind of the current hurdles?
Scaling up chemistry can be quite difficult. As you take things from a beaker to a large vessel to a large plant, things can change that may not make sense. As a result, the challenges that we're currently overcoming is how to make sure that our chemistry behaves the same as we continue to scale up larger and larger. What's really exciting for us is that our process doesn't use any novel equipment. As a result, all the equipment that we need to utilize has been already used in the market before at scale. As a result, it should be easier for our technology to scale up, but I do want to clarify that it won't be easy, it's just going to be easier. So we're excited to overcome those challenges, but right now that is the main hurdle that we're facing, is to, like, how do we effectively scale up our technology to large scale?
And with clean tech and climate tech, very noble, but we also want it to be a sustainable, thriving business, right? Yes. So how do you intend to make money? What is your business model?
Indeed. Over the first 5 years, our business model is to recycle the plastic waste into the high quality plastics and sell that plastic into the market at a market rate, or if we're able to capture the full value at a higher price, for us to then become profitable as a business as we manufacture this a larger and larger amounts. Once we're able to establish ourselves as an independent and profitable business, we then want to start transitioning from selling plastics to selling plants, as we license our technology to increase the rate of penetration our technology can have in the market. Macrocycle's mission is to become the largest producer of upcycled PET and polyester plastics in the world that are upcycling zero carbon emitting technologies. That means that we want our technology to be the de facto producer of PET and polyester in the world. And the only way we can do that quickly is by licensing our technology once we have proven it at scale.
So ultimately, your goal is to license your technology. Would that be a correct assessment?
That is a correct assessment. I do want to clarify that we will not still stop building our own plants, but in complementary to building our own facilities, we want to license the technology to the markets that we won't be able to pursue ourselves. So there could be a scenario where Macrocycle builds plants in US and Europe, but then we license our technology through South America, Africa, and Asia.
And you use the word drop-in plastic, right? I don't think that's a word that most of the audiences are familiar with. So can you explain what that term means, and is the market ready for that?
Yes, the market is ready for it. So what drop-in plastics mean is a plastic solution where a customer do not have to change anything about the process to be able to adopt it. Let me put it in perspective. Right now, if you provide a plastics that comes from mechanical recycling or other alternatives like bioplastics, the qualities and the specifications of the plastics are different than what is used today. As a result, customers have to change something about the process. It could be as simple as changing just some parameters in the process line, or it could be as drastic as changing the entire product line downstream. Those are barriers to adoption. Macrocycle meets all the quality specs of the plastic that is used today from petrochemical, and we can provide it without a green premium, meaning our customers don't have to change anything and potentially don't have to pay any more for them to be able to use our solution. As a result, we can claim confidently that the market is ready for a drop-in solution. It's just that there are very little technologies that can provide that today.
So what is your superpower?
I need to ask, as a company or as an individual?
I would be curious to know both.
So, as a company, it is our ecosystem and the network that we have access to. Starting out of MIT gives us an unfair advantage as we have a lot of phenomenal individuals from the world of entrepreneurship and engineering and climate tech that are helping us scale up and making sure that we resolve our problems. We also have very good backers and funders and investors. The main one being Breakthrough Energy, which is Bill Gates' climate tech foundation. But from an investment perspective, it's Indorama Ventures, the largest PET and polyester producers and recyclers in the world, being in our side, helping us scale up. We are also at the engine of the top tech ecosystem, giving us a lot of helpful connections for us to be able to understand what it takes to really scale up hard technologies. For me, I believe my superpower is my ability to communicate with a great number of people. I am very fortunate that I enjoy talking, presenting, and interacting with a lot of different individuals from different backgrounds. And I want to be able to leverage that on the behalf of Macrocycle to ensure that we have the access to the people that will help us scale up this technology. I've come to terms that my role is selling product, a mission, a vision, a dream. And I'm very fortunate that I have been considered relatively good in that aspect, and I want to continue to improve on that over the years to come.
I'm just curious, when you reach out to these big names, right? Like, how do you get your email or yourself at the door, like, or in the inbox that's not eventually going to be opened and not put in some spam section?
I would like to say that it's better to be lucky than good. But the reality is that luck is simply when preparation meets an opportunity. And I've had a lot of opportunities that I've been able to take advantage of. So a lot of times my email doesn't get read, it doesn't go through, and so on. But sometimes it has. I've gotten lucky. But if anyone wants to take ownership and control, the best way I can say is that you got to leverage your network. Having started at MIT, I was able to utilize that network for me to get access to Breakthrough Energy and a lot of other ecosystems. The best example I can mention is that the professor of the class where I met my co-founder was a partner at Breakthrough Energy who directly communicated us to the fellowship group where we were able to receive our early funding to start the company. And that's why I say we have an unfair advantage coming out of this ecosystem that we want to fully leverage of. And for those that are trying to potentially have equal opportunities, the first thing I can say is just take the first step, show up. You can come to the MIT campus, it's open doors, and start walking into some of the communities and events and so on, and you never know who you could meet that can open those doors for the future.
Interesting. And we're actually sitting at the engine here, right? At Kendall Square, which is apparently the most innovative mile on the planet. So tell us a little bit more about the engine and how the engine has helped your firm.
The engine has tremendously helped us scale up from the perspective of providing us the space from the lab to the pilot facilities for us to be able to conduct our chemistry. It has provided us with services but to continue to scale up from mechanical engineering to HACCP, health and safety support, and so on. But it's also just the perfect location as many events are hosted in this building, and we've gotten to meet many potential employees, many potential advisors, many potential investors that are excited over our value proposition and are willing to talk to us, teach us, or potentially fund us. Our first investor that led our seed round, we actually met here at the engine at an event in 2023, back before we were even known as Macrocycle. And I don't know if it would have happened if it wasn't for this ecosystem where we're hosting events and so on. But also it's relatively close to MIT as well, where we're still able to leverage the ecosystem for analytical service or for events and reunions and so on. So the engine ecosystem has been phenomenal from that perspective.
So being at the right time, at the right place is indeed very important.
I would say so.
Yep, and we do understand that things have shifted a little bit with the new administration, and sometimes I wonder, is cleantech going to kind of bear the brunt? But what have you been feeling on the ground?
Indeed, that's a very interesting question, because if you were to ask me 6 months ago, I would have communicated that we were 100% going to be scaling up in the US. Since then, a lot of things have changed that have made it more difficult for us to be able to justify scaling up in the US. So even though we're a Boston-based company, we're now having to look more at a global perspective at all the different national regions that we could be scaling up our technology in that can help us with our biggest problems, which is just access to capital. So based on the current administration and everything that has happened, what I can confidently say is that it's no longer a 100% sure decision that we're going to be scaling up in the US, and that we now need to look at more of a global presence of where we want to actually scale up at first to demonstrate our technology.
And my last question is, I think you've already told us what your North Star looks like, right? In terms of actually being the producer of, zero carbon emission, high quality plastic and PET producer, right? But what else is there, and what else would you like to educate or enlighten the audience with?
85% of all the plastic that is globally produced ends up in our landfills, in our oceans, or it is incinerated. This results in 6% of all global CO2 emissions to be associated to the plastic life cycle. And today, that represents a $700 billion linear economy that is poised to grow to over $1 trillion, polluting our environment. We're gonna have to take action. And that's what I'm excited about Macrocycle and what we're here to do. As we bring our technology into the market, we are excited to start creating a circular economy around plastics. But we're gonna need a lot of help. One of our biggest issues in the short term is access to good source of plastic waste. Specifically in the US, there's not a lot of collection that is happening. And from the individuals that may be watching this, it will be very exciting if every single person collects one more bottle a day. That alone can create a significant impact in our ability to access that feedstock so that we can start the positive loop to recycle more as we're able to monetize the waste. But at the end of the day, in summary, we're gonna have to take an all hands on deck approach to be able to resolve our plastic crisis. But I truly do believe that together we can create a cleaner, more circular future for everyone.
That's beautiful. So, I want to also contribute. So what do we do? Are you asking that we, make sure that the plastic that we drank out of is put in a recycle bin, or on an everyday life basis? Like, what are you asking us to do?
That is step one. And if there's only one step to take, it's just to spend an extra 2 to 3 seconds with everything that we consume and determine what is a proper recycling method of it. So when it comes to rigid plastics like water bottles or shampoo bottles, yes, making sure that they are recycled in the proper streams. Sometimes that means taking the bottle cap off before recycling it and so on, and following some instructions. Multi-layer films are today not recyclable, and putting them in recycling bins is wish cycling. We wish for it to be recycled, but it doesn't get
really?
recycled. So reading the labels and making sure we don't put things that we want them to be recycled but cannot be recycled in the recycling bin can also go a long way towards facilitating a circular economy around. But then step 2 as well is also communicating to brands that we don't want material that's not recyclable. Making sure we push those brands and we put the pressure on them to make those transitions. That way, the material that we give them as well can be 100% recyclable to truly create a circular economy all the way around.
If we're not an activist, how do we let our voices be heard?
Social media is very powerful as of today. And you'll be surprised how one single video, one single comment could create a movement. Statistically speaking, maybe it's not likely for it to happen. But every person has the ability to talk through media. But even more important is money. Money speaks.
Okay.
If every single consumer in the US was to stop purchasing non-recyclable product, I think the brands will very quickly pick up on that. That being said, it is difficult because we rely on so many consumables for our daily life. So just making those choices, conscious decisions towards shifting our dollar spend towards more consumer recyclable products can tell to customers and our customers and brands what they need to do if they want to receive those dollars back.
Yeah, indeed. So I will get started right away at my household at least. All right. Well, thank you so much, Stwart, for today's interview. It was a pleasure.
The pleasure's mine. Thank you very much for the time.